Timothy Japhet is an attorney from Corpus Christi, Texas, who was George Floyd's attorney. The problem is, George Floyd died 3 years before the police officers supposedly asphyxiated him for 8 minutes until he died. This is a disturbing interview revealing some disturbing facts, and the real question is, what are we going to do about it? So Tim, in your own words, tell me about George Floyd.
Well, it's a long story that I'll try to be as brief as I can be. I currently am an attorney in Corpus Christi, Texas. We're about 15, 20 minutes from Kingsville, Texas, and I get a phone call from a friend of mine that says, hey, he says here that you played with George Floyd. And I said, George Floyd? Who's George Floyd? And they're like, get him to the guy that got killed by the cops in Minnesota. And I go, I have no idea what you're talking about. Just look it up. So I read about this guy, and I'm mortified. And it says that this guy played football at Texas A&M the same year I played at Abilene Christian. And I thought, wow, that's kind of ringing a bell, because I remember another guy down here who had a similar name. And lo and behold, I represented a guy named George Floyd in a guardianship type case back in 2016, but he passed away. And surely this isn't the same guy. They got their names mixed up. But dang, everything started coming out, one after another, tied this guy in Minnesota to this guy I represented. And the more things that came out, the more things were kind of weird. For instance, A&I changed their name to A&M Kingsville, and when they did that, they changed uniforms, of course, and everything. So George Floyd couldn't have played for A&M Kingsville. He had to play for A&I. And when you look at the roll sheets and all that kind of mess, he didn't play football for Houston Yates. There's another guy named Floyd George, but not George Floyd. So all the timelines are messed up. All the periods that you can actually put your finger on. When you can actually put a date certain that this happened on that date, and you did the math front and backwards, none of them matched. And the more and more I got into it, the more and more things were screwy. Like, for instance, I went down to A&M Kingsville, pulled the guy's transcript to make sure he went to school there, and my George Floyd was there those years, 86, 87, and 89, but there wasn't anybody in there after that named George Floyd. You know, the Houston Yates stuff, where he played football there was a Floyd George, but not a George Floyd. So it was just one thing after another. And then, you know, when I posted what I did, things started happening to me. You know, one of the things they did was somebody erased the entire football season of 1989 for the Abilene Christian University Wildcats. Got on the server and erased it. Boom, gone. Somebody got on the county website and erased all the cases that showed that I was working these kind of cases in this county at the time. Boom, gone. Then the state bar called me on the phone and said, hey, you don't exist anymore. And somebody hacked their server and erased me there. Now, for me, I got it all prepared and got it fixed, but to me, it was just one after another things that just was strange. And that's when I really got into investigating it myself. Because, you know, the first thing I found out was, I found that little snippet where they interviewed the district attorney from Minneapolis, and they asked him why he didn't prosecute this case earlier when they had the tape for 30 days. He said, because we had facts that you guys didn't have. And the reporter said, what? And he said, we had facts that you didn't have. And in a case like that, you know, back in my county attorney days, the only two reasons why you don't prosecute a case like that is because either A, it was justified, self-defense or something like that. Of course it wasn't. Or B, it never happened. You know, the other thing that bothered me was the fact that if it really happened, either Ray, Department of Justice, and FBI people there in Minnesota to root out the bad people in the corrupt police department, they'd have to have the FBI there to investigate everything. Had to. Because there's been a federal crime, civil rights issue, and a murder. That never happened.
Right, they would have been all over that, Tim, right? All over it.
And none of it happened. Nothing that happened in a case that would have normally happened in a case that would have happened if that was true, happened.
What do we need to do with this? What do we need to expose here as far as
Well, it's actually a simple question. So you expose it, now what?
Right. That's the question.
There's no crime been committed, and that's what I tell people when they call me. They're like, we got to do something. A crime been committed. You got to come forward and tell everybody what you know. And I say, why? No crime's been committed. We did it to ourselves. Somebody leaked the tape on the internet, and everybody ran with it with nuts. Because not one single person said it's true. If it was true, you would have reigned the Department of Justice and civil rights lawyers in Minneapolis. Reigned them. They've been all over the place, crawling around. And
Never happened. So it was just an inciting incident to be used to begin this, you know, like the subplot of the current psyop with the COVID, you know. So it's just to keep the fires of you know, chaos burning, really. But as far as this is concerned, Tim, you know, so we understand now that this is not real, that it's not real, that George Floyd is a fabrication, that they buried, I guess, during this COVID thing, it became this, there was not supposed to be any funerals, but they had this big funeral with Al Sharpton, and they buried an empty box, basically. And now Al Sharpton being involved with phony things doesn't surprise me at all, as far as the Tawana Brawley situation back in Queens. Actually, when I was when I was a kid in the 80s, I come from Queens. I remember that very well, that whole thing. It actually happened in upstate New York. Sharpton comes from Queens. And it's very likely, you know, Sharpton met with Obama in the White House on several occasions during this whole chaos that began with Trayvon Martin and has continued and escalated ever since. So I see this as an ongoing psychological operation to divide the people and cause hate and chaos, and that's what they're doing. Order out of chaos. That's what they want. Their order. Their order.
All I can tell you is this. If you look at who is rallied around the cause of this, it's corporate America.
Yes.
It's the NFL. It's the it's the businesses. It is not your strong, vocal, normal guys. This is not. They're not really getting out there like you think they would. They're just kind of like, I don't know about this. And maybe it's because they know, like we talked about, this doesn't seem right. But the people that are actually leading in charge of this are your Targets and your NFLs and your Nikes and we're gonna quit calling it this. We're gonna change this name in Hollywood.
Right.
We're gonna get these, get rid of these statues, which cracks me up because, when they talk about getting rid of these statues, I tell them I'm happy they're doing it. It's just a reminder every day of the big loss. And they look at me like, oh, you're making a joke. And I kind of am. But I'm saying, look, I watched the Houston Oilers. Houston Oilers get beat by the Buffalo Bills when they're already up 39-3. I don't want to ever see that game again. Ever. And that's kind of the way I look at these Confederate monuments. I don't see that stuff. And most of those are put there by the North during Reconstruction to remind the Southerners of what they did.
That is true. I mean, I never actually looked at it from that perspective, Tim, but you're right. I personally think that the past should be left alone and remembered, because just like George Santayana said, those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. And there's a lot of things in the past that were deadly and evil that I see happening today. A lot of remnants of Nazi Germany all over the place, and all sorts of other totalitarian growth of this, and people embracing servitude, as Aldous Huxley said, embrace the servitude, loving their little drug culture and all this other stuff that's just, keep them dumbed down, drugged up, and, unaware of what's going on, and then use them as useful idiots to get political agendas across. And that's what they've been doing for the last 50 years, in my view.
It's become harder and harder to use the black community to do anything, because they've gotten used to it. Obama came in, they thought, it was all going to change. It doesn't change.
Of course not.
It's like, oh my gosh, we got a black president, and we got nothing.
He did nothing.
Less than nothing, actually. So
yeah, well, he destroyed, he was a globalist. He's just working on destroying our country. Yeah.
So, they're not really all fired about doing that.
Right.
You got this Hispanic population that around, and most of them are, a lot of them were conservative and Republican.
Many, that's true. Mm-hmm.
And so then you got them going along. But the bottom line for me on the whole statue thing is this. I tell people, I bet you that if they were to go in and say, look, we're going to get rid of all the memorials in Germany and Poland, all the concentration camps, Auschwitz, all the places, we're going to get rid of them because they're offensive to Jewish people. Because, it happened to them. There's a lot of people in Germany be like, hell yeah, take that off. Get rid of it.
Right.
And that's when people realize when I'm talking about symbolism. Those statues weren't there to celebrate the South. They were there to remind us that we acted poorly and misbehaved.
That is true. That is true.
So then, take them down? Hell yeah, take them down. I'm joking. I really am. I'm kind of tongue in cheek.
No, I get it. Of course. Yes, of course. Tongue in cheek. Yep. Wow.
And so this guy go, oh, wow, I get it now. But it's too late. And I don't know what to tell you about the whole thing with George Floyd. It doesn't make a difference if it's true or not now. Anybody that you talk to, if they would see an interview with the guy alive, and him going, hey, look, it's me. You know, my name is Floyd Perry. I played this guy. It really wasn't me, but we're good. It was a big joke. They would say, well, you know what? It may not have been happening in Minneapolis that day, but it's happening somewhere.
And this thing, when you're saying there's no crime being committed, there has been a big crime committed, in my view. Let's be real. It's fraud. It's manipulation of the mass media. It's manipulation of the psyche. It caused riots. I mean, how is that not? And these people have to be caught who did this. But look what they've done. The police officers, what were they doing? Were they in on it? They deserve to go to prison for sure, right? I mean, you know, so it's just a bizarre thing, and they looked a little weird. Who knows? They could have been on drugs themselves or something else. Who knows? I really don't. Yeah.
You know, if you can do this, it's hard to do. If you can do it, it'll make sense. You can watch that videotape and think to yourself, "Oh, these are actors doing a training video." If you watch the whole videotape from the very beginning, going, "Okay, I'm in class to be a police officer, and they're going to show us proper restraint, how to restrain people, what's allowed, what's not allowed in a video." So they put this on, and they go, "It's actors, not real policemen." Blah 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 blah. That makes sense. If you watch the tape that way, you go, "Oh, that's why nobody was all stressed out. That's why everybody kind of was all nonchalant.
Good point.
Why everybody was cool, and everybody was the only police officer that was real that showed up. They threw him away. They said, "We don't, we're good. We're doing a video for a training video." You know, if you watch it that way, it makes sense.
It does. So, do you have any? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and that goes back to the whole. All that leads to the whole big conversation about this defunding the police thing, which is funny to me because most people don't understand what defunding the police means. It has nothing to do with them going away. It's just with their overtime and such. But let's pretend that it did. Let's pretend that defunding police meant that they went away. And they could do that. Because the town charters were ripped up and they said, so no more of this, just do what you want to do. In my neighborhood, we're going to have cops. We're going to have fire trucks, and we're going to have ambulances. Because in my neighborhood, we're going to pay for it. I think that they get mad about something, they start yelling for wanting something, if they want some change, that's the change they want, and they never think about what's going to happen in 6 months, 9 months, a year.
Do you feel as though this is just like a coincidence, or is it something that's wider?
I think that you have a bunch of moving parts that don't talk to each other, that think they have the same agenda today, but tomorrow they won't, and it's real simple. I can explain that part to you. I've read a lot about this and done a lot of research and been in some of these rooms. And what I can tell you is that, unfortunately, I'm going to use this party as an example because I have to. The Democratic Party is full of hundreds of special interest groups, small special interest groups. And at times, they can all galvanize about one thing, which is hating Republicans and vote. But other than that, they're at each other's throats. Because you have your LGBTQ people, you've got your immigrant rights people, you've got your, you got your whole Muslim rights, Sharia law people, and they don't get together, they don't get along.
Right.
But they can all vote and then get back to fighting again. So what I think you have is you've got all these small interest groups seeing an opportunity to do something. And they're not coordinated, and it's not real smart how they're doing it, but they do something. And they think that, oh my gosh, we're helping the cause. But all they're doing is just confusing everybody.
They're hurting the cause. They're actually hurting if they're supposedly Democrats, they're hurting the Democrat Party.
Yes. But to them, they don't understand that to be a Democrat, they've got to be more inclusive. Because what they've done is they've drawn these lines in the sand. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got to be this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And a person that wants to be reasonable may say, you know what? I'm pro-immigrant rights, and I'm pro-LGBTQ, but I'm not pro-gun control. And they go, well, you can't be part of our
yeah, one thing they don't agree with, it kills the whole person, right?
Yeah, the whole deal.
The whole deal.
Disagree with them on, the deal's out. Don't come right.
No, that's what you get with the education system, and you get all of this propaganda in the media, mass media, and movies, all pushing the same thing. They just pound it into your head, really, is what they do.
All of this, fundamentally, at the very end of the day, people, when they can't argue anything else, mumble deep state. Like that's going to get them out of their argument. Like we're going to blame the deep state. And that's both sides. You know, when you pin them down to the bottom line of what they're trying to say, which is complete crap, then they just go, well, the deep state. And I used to kind of entertain that, but now I explain to people, look, let me tell you what the deep state is. If you want to know what the deep state is, I know what it is. The deep state is the structure that this country runs on. And it's people that have been in their jobs for 30, 40, 50 years, all throughout the system. And what happens is that you can't pass that on to your kids. Because they don't want to be like dad. They don't want to be like mom that was in the government for 20, 30 years. So they've got to find people that are willing to come in to keep it going. And the deep state is the reason why your power's on all the time. It's why your internet works. It's why you got gas in your car. It's why the food's delivered. Because there's a structure that keeps it happening. And those people are real tight with who they are and how much they know the control they have of this country, which is a ton. But the country's so big, we have to have the deep state. And don't be afraid of it. Don't embrace it as your master either. Just know that it's there. It's like the roads that go through this country or the power grid that we have. You know, it doesn't run us. It is us.
Well, what you're really saying is the structure, but the deep state refers to corruption, and you know that's I think that all you spoke about is absolutely true about our infrastructure is really what you're talking about. You know, the fact that, like, look, you know, people complain about, you know, having no toilet paper for a couple of weeks, you know, but they don't understand the way that it all gets there and how that infrastructure can be stopped and started and halted and all things can be done to, you know, shock testing us and all of that things. But it's the evil use of this system and those that profit off of it and are corrupt and take away our freedom to get money, basically, is really what it is. That's my view, at least, on it. You know.
I'll tell you what. How about this? If you were to make me take what you're calling, what you're saying the deep state is, I would say lobbyists.
Yes, lobbyists, absolutely. Lobbyists are right there, the most corrupt of all.
Yes. Lobbyists are the founding members and president, secretary, and probably vice president of the first ever deep state fraternity. It's them.
That is true.
They got to go if you want to put it right in the swamp. They got to go.
Yep, we have to get I think everybody out of business. You should not have anyone in government more than 10 years. Period. Even 10 years is stretching it. You know, that's just the way I see it. You know.
Unless he's a guy in charge of the power.
That's true.
Down in the water. I want that guy there for his lifetime. I want his replacement train for 50 years.
Yeah, right.
All right, hey, good. Thanks for having me on.